2 years ago, I was faced with an extremely important decision. Should I get a cat? Well, as you all know, I got one and I called her Junior. And ever since then, Junior has been a beacon of furry light in my life. So I decided to double down and get a second cat. I wanted to give the new cat a warm welcome, so I lit the fire and put up the welcome sign. I only had a happy birthday sign, but the cat can't read yet, so it's not a big deal. Anyway, this is Tigger. Now, before I show you the moment I introduced him to Junior and my parents' cat Harry, I want to introduce him to you, letting you all in on the good and bad parts of having Tigger about the house so far. First of all, let me explain his name. I decided to call him Tigger because growing up, I loved Winnie the Pooh. In fact, one fond memory I have is when I was younger, my mum and dad would often recreate the scene from Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day with me and my brother, in that they'd put us in a big bath towel and throw us up into the air. I had to be 25 again. So, on to things that I love about Tigger so far. Like Junior and me, he's got ginger and white fur, but he's much fluffier than Junior, just quite funny that we all match. Speaking of fur, he has a little white tip on his ear, which I love, and if you really squint, or just have dodgy eyes, he kinda has a little white love heart on his forehead as well. I absolutely love his massive, oversized, hairy feet. It looks like someone's given him the wrong size of shoes at the bowling alley. His purr is ridiculous, and it often gets to the point where he's absolutely whistling. It kinda sounds like when the washing machine gets to the scary part. In general, he's just a very happy and affectionate little guy who has settled in really well, which I'm obviously very pleased about, but there are some bad parts. Perhaps straying away from family-friendly topics. I don't wear a shirt in bed, and multiple times Tigger has gone under the covers whilst I'm sleeping and has bit a nipple or two. Straying even further from family-friendly topics, I've found he doesn't keep the cleanest back there. I think it's because he's a long-haired cat that shrapnel gets caught up, but it means I've had to give him a few baths focused solely on his sheriff's badge. Despite the many joys of being CEO of a multi-cat enterprise, managing the diets and hydration levels of multiple cats can also be a challenge. At the moment, Tigger is on wet kitten food, but he doesn't always finish his portions in one go. This means that the wet food either A, sits out and dries up, or B, Junior comes along and scoffs the leftovers. I hate having to scrape away dried up wet food, and I really don't want Junior to get any rounder. Thankfully, because of today's sponsor Pet Libro and their hydration kit, I've now got this side of my organisation locked down. Using the Smart app, I've set up one of their polar wet food feeders to feed Tigger 3 times a day. Through the magic of semiconductor cooling technology, the polar wet food feeder can keep 3 meals chilled and fresh for 3 days, making it really easy to stick to daily feeding routines, even when I'm away at the gym training for my next heavyweight title fight. The built-in anti-pinch sensor means that the lid stays open whenever Tigger is eating or near, but if he happens to approach whilst the lid is closing, it will instantly detect him, stop, then retract, rather than chomping his eyebrows off. The extra wide feeding trays hold up to 7.4 ounces of wet food, whilst also preventing whisker fatigue, which, if like me you're only just learning about, can occur when your cat's whiskers brush against the side of a poorly designed bowl. Beyond the polar wet food feeder, I've actually been a faithful user of Pet Libro's cordless DocStream fountain for over 2 years now. Thanks to this, my cats now drink more water than ever, and as an added bonus, it's the only water solution that Junior hasn't been able to knock over. Because it's cordless, I can set the DocStream up anywhere I want, usually in the living room where the cats spend most of their days. Plus, having no wires for the cats to bite on or for me to trip on is a real treat for our collective well-being. The detachable stainless steel basin is antibacterial, durable, easy to clean and easy to set up, and on the inside, the 4-layer filter system ensures a fresh supply of drinking water, which runs so quiet, Tigger will often sleep right next to it undisturbed. To get your cat's diet and hydration levels on point with your very own hydration kit, just click the link below and take advantage of Pet Libro's limited time discount. Now, moving on to something I'm sure a lot of you are curious about, introducing Tigger to Junior. This was something I was honestly pretty worried about, as I was concerned Junior might somehow get jealous or feel sad. So to remedy that, I did my best to introduce them to each other very gently and fairly, getting them to play together and doing my best to give them equal attention. Despite being a bit spooked by each other initially, it seemed to all go well, and thankfully Junior doesn't seem upset. Just because I thought it would be funny, I bought a tiny camera that you stick on a collar and I attached it to Tigger so you could all get a POV of him playing with Junior and purring his head off. Unfortunately, Tigger absolutely hates collars, as do Harry and Junior, so going forward there will be no more POV content. Coming back to how Junior and Tigger are getting along, I am still a little bit worried about Junior feeling left out or replaced, so whenever I walk into the room and see her, I always do my best to make a fuss of her and just squeeze her head. It does seem to be working, so I'll keep that up, as I just really don't want her to get depressed. Overall though, they're getting on pretty well, and I'm still holding out hope that one day they'll actually sleep on top of each other, which seems like a weird thing to hope for, but I'm sure all other cat owners out there will understand why this happening would be such a Dear Diary moment. Moving on to introducing Tigger to my parents' cat Harry, I was less concerned about this one going well because there just wasn't as much at stake, given that Tigger and Harry won't actually be living together in the long run. For this introduction, I decided to take the much more sensible approach of introducing them through the living room window, which in hindsight I should have done with Junior as well. They seemed to be okay with each other, so we let Harry in, and as with Junior, it ended up going totally fine. Once again, Tigger seemed to rule the roost and was much more lively with his affection than they're used to, but none of them seemed to be depressed, and if they're happy, I'm happy. Coming back to my point there about these two not living together for very long, those of you that follow along with all of my videos will already know that I've been keeping Junior at my parents' house whilst I'm finishing my current renovation, because I just didn't want to have her in an environment with lots of dust and the like. That renovation should be done in the next few weeks, and once it is done, I'll be able to move Tigger and Junior out of my parents' house and into their new home, which will obviously be away from Harry. In the meantime, it doesn't hurt for them to get along though. Overall, I've loved having Tigger about. He's just so funny and friendly and has settled in so well. He shows his knob off a bit too much for my liking, but we all have our little quirks. Every night he sleeps under my bed, and anytime I move or make a noise, he suddenly just starts purring his head off as if to announce his presence, which is really lovely. And I completely forgot to mention it earlier, but one of the other bad points I didn't say is that he goes absolutely mental on the curtains. He also has a tendency to bite the bottom of doors and wires. In fact, Holly, the girl I got him from, told me that the whole time she had him as a kitten, she had to move all of her lamps out of the room that he was in, and she was forced to use the big light because Tigger just kept trying to chew through the lamp wires. So aside from the nipple, curtain, wire and door biting, the unkempt sheriff's badge and the laid back attitude to showing off his ghoulies, I'd say he's been a 10 out of 10 cat. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more hard-hitting cat documentaries, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.